Organized labor, fighting the man. You might want to fight the man. This is how. So, organized labor is an association of workers organized to improve wages and working conditions for its members. Because if you go to your boss and say, "You're not paying me enough," he might say, "Yes, you're right, here's more money." Or most likely he'll just say, "Get back to work," or "Go home." But if all of the workers come together and they come to his office and say, "You need to pay us more money, you need to trade us better," he could fire you all. Or he might think like, "Wait a minute, it's going to cost me a lot of time and money to hire someone else. Maybe I should give them what they want and that'll save me money in the long run." Collectively, you have power, much more than you would individually. And that's what organized labor is all about. Getting together with other employees that work in the same field as you to have your voice heard by your employer. Types of unions. Two types of unions. There's the craft union, and that is for skilled workers in a specific trade or industry like carpentry or printing, where everybody does the same kind of job and has the same skill level requirements to get into the craft union. The industrial union would be everybody in an industry or everybody in a company, even though they'll do different things. So you might have maybe you have a company and they make computer chips. So you've got the people who actually make the chips, but then you got maybe the mechanics who make sure that the machines are working. Maybe you got the supervisor who makes sure everyone's doing the right thing, the quality control is staying good. Then you got the janitors, the people cleaning up after the place. Everybody being part of the same union in that industry would be an industrial union. Even though not everybody does the same thing, they're all kind of working for the same people or in the same, type of business. That's industrial union. And then there's local unions. Now, either one of those can be national unions or local unions. But among local unions, you've got two different types of unions. Now, you won't see this in the national level. This would just be like maybe in just one city or just in one business in one city. You got agency shop. And an agency shop, if you get employed at that business, you don't have to join the union. But if you choose not to join the union, you still have to pay dues. And then there's also a union shop, where if you get employed, you have to join the union, you have to pay dues, or you can't work there. Simple as that. That's a really strong union. Right to work laws have been submitted and passed in many states to try to fight unions a little bit. Now, unions can be very good because they give you a voice. They give you a way to stand up an employer who's not treating you right. But some unions get so strong they can actually hurt a business. They can have the opposite effect, and that's not good for their jobs. And especially with things like agency shops and union shops, where you're going to be contributing to the union whether you want to or not. And there's very good reasons why you may not want to be part of the union. But in these two cases, you'd have to be. Some states, these are legal. Some states, they're fighting them. But a right to work law, those are kind of laws that say that the unions can't force you out of the job for not joining them. They can't punish you for not joining the union. That means you have a right to work whether you want to join a union or not, if that law is in place in your state. It's not in every state. Okay, collective bargaining. We're building on to what labor unions do. So you're in a union, or you've got enough employees work together to want to make some changes or force your employer to make some changes. That process is called collective bargaining. And that's the process by which unions and employers negotiate the conditions of employment, for better or for worse. So what are the goals? The goals is contracts. If it's a job where contracts involved, like the terms of the contract, pay, how long the contract is, how do you renew the contract, a lot of those things. Obviously, sports, everybody's got a contract, and this is part of it. But it also could be for writers or a lot of construction workers who have contracts. Any kind of job where any kind of contract is involved, If they feel that their contract is not fair or there's something being left out of it, that could be one goal, trying to fix that. Maybe you're trying to get or improve fringe benefits. This is things outside of pay, like bonus potentials, like not increase in salary, but maybe incentives, health insurance, pension, stocks, any other things beyond just your base salary. Another thing you might be trying to fight for is working hours. Maybe you think your working hours are too long, or maybe you feel like you're not getting enough working hours. You trying to support your family, maybe 15 hours a week is not enough. So maybe you collectively get together and say like, hey, you need to guarantee us at least this many work hours per week so we can survive. Working hours. Finally, you might argue for cost of living adjustments. Now, a cost of living adjustment, or a COLA, C-O-L-A, that means if you have that, then the employer automatically increases wages whenever there's a general increase in the level of, in the price levels of, cost of living, whether it's like food, rent, mortgage, all those things. If those things are starting to go up in your city, in your living area, then if you have cost of living adjustments built into your contract, then that would raise your wages to make sure that you're not falling behind price increases. So, what are different ways that you would do this? There's some ways that are more peaceful than others. One is mediation. If the two of you can't come to an agreement, then you might bring someone in, a lawyer, a judge possibly, or someone who's just professional at mediating conflicts. You'd bring them in and they try to help you guys come to a deal. Have someone who's neutral, not involved with either one of you, who's not going to take a side to help you guys work it out. You might have seen this in high schools and middle schools, conflict mediators. Boycotts. You can just stop buying anything that company makes. People who don't work for your employer might also join the boycott, because if no one's buying their product, or less people are, they make less profit. And then they might be willing to hear what you're saying, because then the loss of profit from boycott might be greater than just giving you what you want, depending on how much you're asking for. Strikes. That's where you just stop working. You get all the other employers and you just stop working. And you refuse to go back to work until they give in to your demands, or at least willing to talk to you. Another way is arbitration. This is not ideal, and it's kind of a gamble for both sides, but in arbitration you'll probably go before a judge, and you'll both make your case, and then the judge will just decide what the compromise is, what the decision is, and both of you have to deal with it. That's kind of like the last resort for when strikes, boycotts, mediation, everything else doesn't work. Arbitration is one way to finalize it, but you're giving all power to the judge, and he will tell you what you're going to do as an employer, as an employee, and what the employer will also have to do going forward. And the other thing to do is picketing. You see that a lot of people do this when they're not employees, and they usually do it while they're striking. They hold up those signs and make noise and stand outside the business to let people know what's going on with that business and why they're being treated, why they feel they're being treated so poorly. These are all different ways that you can collectively bargain to get an employer to give you what you want.